Okay. Time by my watch is 6 p.m. and that one. I'll call to order the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the city of Glenwood Springs. This is our regular meeting for October the 25th, 2022. And let's see, we have, it's a hybrid meeting with Zoom. And there is a telephone number here, 1-719-359-4580. I believe that's all I need to read off on this. And I'll please call the order, the roll.
Commissioner Waller,
Here.
Commissioner Connerton, Commissioner Shaver,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Wissing,
Here.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Here.
Commissioner Weimer,
Here.
Commissioner Davy.
Okay, thank you. And number 3 on the agenda is the receipt of the minutes for August 23rd, 2022. And I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes from August 2022.
Second. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Sipperly and a second from Commissioner Weimer. Any discussion?
I'm just pulling them up. It said that I was that I made some motion or something and I was not at the meeting. I think that it was that I made a motion to seat Commissioner Weimer. So, and that was I don't know, I'm trying to pull them up right now and look at them, but that was the only comment that I had.
Okay.
Then I would just say that I was not here, so I won't be able to
Okay.
vote to receive them.
All right. Well, with that correction, I'll call for the question.
Again, do I vote? Even if I wasn't there, do I abstain? What do I do?
I think that the bylaws say that you would not vote. So I think that it's an abstention, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with.
The bylaws, I think it's not usual that that's the case because you can vote. But your bylaws say that you will not.
Does the 0 between the plus and the minus equal abstention?
I don't know the answer to that. Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Figured it out.
Okay, I believe that motion passed, and I'll open the floor to comments from the citizens for items that are not on the agenda. And I see when no one here, I think this gentleman is from the sign company. Will we see that Anyone on Zoom that would like to comment?
Is she raising her hand? Okay, so there's somebody online. But she's not raising her.
Okay. Well, then I'll close the public comment period and go on to agenda item number 5. Planning file 2422, variance Qdoba signage 510 Laurel. And I believe Emery is here to present that to us.
Yep. So again, presenting planning file 2422, which is a sign variance for 510 Laurel. So I'm going to screen share and just bring up a presentation. It looks. That all good? I didn't mess anything up. Okay, cool. This is a sign variance. So we're gonna be looking at sign code again. And this is for the Qdoba location on 510 Laurel. So just a little background. So we have 2 variances. One is for the number of signs, and then the second variance is for the type of illumination. So the applicant is Bud Signs, who's a sign contractor. They've applied on behalf of Qdoba. So the property is zoned M1 mixed use. It is in the downtown north sign district. It's also located in the downtown core, which is factors into one of the variances. There's a mix of surrounding uses. So you have some residential to the north and to the east. And then to the west and the south, you have commercial. So you have a couple hotels, you have gas station, convenience store, and then pretty large size lot, 28,000 square feet. So that's just some of those particulars. So specifically, we'll have 2 action items. Action item 1 is a variance request to allow applicant to exceed limit of 1 wall projecting a roof sign per tenant in a multi-tenant building. So again, number of total signs. Staff recommends denial of that variance request with findings and conditions on pages 8 and 9. And again, as Planning and Zoning Commission, you are the deciding body, so your options would be approve the variance request, deny the variance request, or continue the item. So that's action item 1. And then action item 2 is variance request to allow an interior illuminated sign within the downtown core. So that is prohibited. But applicant looks to request interior illumination, and staff recommends denial of the variance request with findings and conditions on pages 8 and 9. And again, Planning and Zoning Commission's the deciding body, and those would be the options. So I'll get into each of these items and just kind of explaining what the code standards are and what the applicant is looking to request with this variance. So again, this is a standard variance. So there are 7 criteria, all of 7 which have to be met for approval, and we'll get into staff's analysis of all these in a bit. And so again, so the first one is a request to exceed the limit of 1. So wall projecting roof sign can just all be called attached signage. It's attached physically to the building. And when you have a multi-tenant building, code limits that to you get 1 attached sign per use. So this is a multi-tenant building. Qdoba as 1 use under sign code as it is today would be allowed 1 sign. And so their request is they want to replace some of their existing signage and go with, so this is south frontage and then also the west frontage. So 2 attached wall signs. So the existing conditions, they currently have 3. And so these were all installed in 2002 with a sign permit. So that was approved. So these are all existing non-conforming signs, and they can stay there and remain as, you know, they're non-conforming. But with the move to do new signage, you have to fall under current code. So that's, again, the current conditions. And those signs are interior illuminated signs, which will be the second variance request. So again, so the first one is for the number of signs. And then again, just kind of attached sign is anything. So you have wall sign, projecting sign, roof sign. So any of those types, they would get one and they'd pick their frontage. And again, so it's a multi-tenant building. Qdoba is in the south part of the building, and there's a spa and salon on the north part. So it's a multi-tenant, there's 2 tenants. And in practice, the code requirement for 1 sign per use in a multi-tenant building, the idea is that it limits kind of the visual aspects of signage. So a good example would be like Roaring Fork Marketplace, or like here, West Glenwood Plaza. Each use gets 1 sign. And those are all wall signs in that case. So that's action item 1. Again, number of signs. And then we have action item 2, which is a variance request for interior illuminated signs. And so this refers to how the sign is lit. Having an interior illuminated sign is prohibited in the downtown core. And 510 Laurel is in that part of town. And so interior illuminated is when the lighting is actually a part of the sign. So good examples in town, Big John's Ace Hardware, Carpet One, those are interior illuminated signs. An exterior one would be if you have, a light above it that casts light downward on the sign. So exterior, interior. And again, so interior signs are prohibited in the downtown core. So any property within on this map, that light gray line, that's all the downtown core. So anywhere in that area, an interior illuminated sign would not be allowed. And then I did just put the GID on there just for reference, because that is something we do talk about, and that these are 2 different things. So just keep that in mind. And then you can see 510 Laurel in yellow. So the variance criteria, so there are all 7 that would need to be met. Staff found that the applicant met 1 of the 7, so that's the reason for denial for both of these action items. I guess first, are there any questions on what the variances are for, of the 2 items? Okay. So I was kind of going to look at both of these together in the 7. And so first variance criteria is just that the subject property has exceptional shape, topography, building configuration, that is in a general condition throughout the zone district. So you do have the building being a multi-tenant structure. That is pretty common in the M1 mixed use zoning district. Lot sizes and building configurations really vary throughout the zoning district, but a larger lot with mixed commercial and parking in front, you can find other examples of that within the zoning district. So nothing there is exceptional about the property. Number 2, strict applications for which a variance is sought would produce undue hardship. Staff found that there are code compliant alternatives for signage here that might not be exactly what the applicant is requesting, but could still be options for additional signage. 3, the applicant did not create the hardship by their own actions. So when the applicant originally installed the signage, it was done with a sign permit and it was code compliant. So they did not change sign code. However, what they are changing is the condition of looking to add new signage, which has to fall under current code. And so they are creating the hardship by looking to add new signage. And again, there are also code compliant alternatives for signage as well as illumination. Number 4, the variance requested does not harm the public and does not impair the intent or purposes of the code. So staff found the variances requested don't harm the public. However, it does impair the intent. Again, with part of the intent of a multi-tenant building is to reduce the visual clutter, and then also having that design standard within the downtown core to not have interior illuminated signs is kind of an aesthetic design point, which again, that's not meeting the intent. Number 5, variance request demonstrates exceptional hardship not related to purposes of convenience or financial burden. Again, there are code compliant options that exist for a number of signs and different types of signage and illumination. Number 6, the variance request will not violate building or fire code requirements. So it would not violate either of those. So that was the one that staff found that it did meet. And then number 7, the variance is the minimum variance that will afford relief of the subject standards of the code. Again, so it's not the minimum variance. There are those standards, and there are again different alternatives to achieve those goals of illumination and advertising. So that's kind of 7 criteria. And then what are those code compliant alternatives? So this is a little different. I mean, again, if you're having one attached sign, you do have two frontages here. But one option is there is an awning. So they would be allowed to add a suspended sign, which would be kind of like the ones you see a lot downtown off the awnings. Now that would be a maximum of 4 square feet, which would be less than they'd be allowed to have for a wall sign. But again, it would enable them to have at least some signage on both frontages. So that is a code compliant alternative that would be available to kind of try to get both sides. And so that would be for the number of signs, and that this would be allowed in addition to their one attached sign of whatever style they would go with. And then as far as lighting, so they could have an exterior sign. So you could have the same type of sign and you could have an exterior illumination method. And also our lighting standards apply the same as far as brightness, whether that sign is interior or exterior illuminated. And then another part too is that because this property is located within 300 feet of a residential zoning district, that sign, regardless of illumination style, would have to be shut off at 10 p.m. or 1 hour after close of business, whichever is later. So there are, regardless of the style, there are still restrictions and requirements they have to meet as far as brightness and duration of it being on. So reviewing agencies, no comments were received by reviewing agencies. I do have, so this, I'll just hand this out. This is public comment. So that's that. One of the neighbors sent in a public comment. Just main point of that public comment was just acknowledging, you know, that there are residential neighbors nearby and that there was already a lot of commercial lighting in the area. Because again, it is a mixed use zoning district. So you do have a mix of uses, hotels, gas station, convenience store. So that was the only official public comment that was received. One other neighbor called just asking about the notice, but they didn't have much of an opinion either way. So again, so the action item 1 is consideration of exceeding the limit of 1 sign, and staff recommended denial of that action item. And then action item 2 is for the interior illuminated sign, and staff also recommended denial. Again, so if Planning and Zoning Commission finds to approve it, this would be just a set of, you know, meeting all 7 of the criteria and explaining and finding reason for each one on how it meets that criteria. And so we have action item 1 and just alternative motions for either one. And again, these are the criteria that we're looking at. So, yeah. And then we also have, so Paul from Bud Signs here is representing the applicant. So if you have additional questions on signs, be a good resource for that too.
Sorry, Emery, do you have a copy you could give the applicant of that public comment? Just so he has an opportunity to respond, sorry.
Okay, thanks, Emery. Any questions for Emery at this point? Carolyn?
If the applicant were to desire to hang signs from their awning, could they do that in addition to the existing non-conforming signs, or would that trigger a whole new sign permit?
No, we wouldn't approve any more signage if they already have non-conforming signage.
If they were to have awning signs, could they be lit externally?
Believe so.
I'm fairly sure the ones I've seen downtown have exterior lights on them.
That would be one of the applicants. So
Oh, it is
that
one
would
of the
be
applicants?
When we have questions for applicants, right?
When we have questions for applicants, so not quite yet.
But back to the suspended sign question. Yeah,
may-
so,
I was gonna say, it might be something we can't answer on the fly.
yeah. I mean, they would still have to be, so basically that the lighting would have to be top mounted and directed downwards towards the sign. So if it's an awning, probably, you know, it's hanging down from the awning above it type deal.
Thank you.
Troy?
And just confirming there's no variance being required for the face replacement.
On the pole sign
bill.
out front, no, that's a sign face change and that could be approved. as
Okay.
is. It's an existing sign. That's just a pretty simple approval.
Okay.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, would the applicant care to come forward and present? And please state your name and what town you live in, please.
My name is Paul Schroeder. I'm from Bud Signs in Grand Junction, Colorado. We're here obviously to seek approval for a variance for the Qdoba signs. One of the things we want to present right up to start is this is a company that employs 15 people within the city of Glenwood Springs. They've been in business since 2002. These signs that are there are original signs. And the nature of this type of sign, they don't last forever. They do need to be replaced and maintained. And that's where they're at. They're kind of have lived their life cycle. So that's why we need to put up new ones and why we've got a problem with the quantities and as well as the lighting. I don't know, I've never done this with the city of Glenwood Springs. I've done it with numerous other municipalities. Have you seen our response to the 7 criteria? Or do you want me to read our response to those?
That was in our packet, but you're welcome to go over that or express.
Okay. All right. So on the first subject, the property has exceptional shape, topography, building configuration, or other exceptional site conditions that in general that is not a general condition throughout the zone district. Our response is the Qdoba Eats restaurant at 510 Laurel has exceptional site condition that reduces visibility from 6th Street or 6th Avenue, which is the main thoroughfare. The Come and Go gas station is located in front of the restaurant. To the right, you'll find Subway and lodging. And we presented a visibility study as well that you probably have seen that. That is quite lengthy and quite deep in its production. If I were to try to explain all of that this time, we'll probably not be here until Thanksgiving. So, so if you do have questions about anything in that visibility study, please feel free to bring it up. Number 2, the strict application of the code standards for which the variance is sought would produce undue hardship. Currently, there are 3 illuminated wall signs at the Qdoba Mexican Eats restaurant. The current code reduces the number to 1. Vehicle and foot traffic would not be able to see the store, resulting in a significant loss of business. We have already committed to putting up 2 signs rather than the 3 that are there. We feel that that is being a 33% reduction in the quantity of signs is a pretty substantial step back in trying to attract new customers, most of which aren't familiar with the area, as you know, it's a tourist area. The applicant did not create the hardship by his or her own actions. The applicant points out that the Qdoba currently has 3 illuminated signs, all of which were legally obtained in 2002. Because the sign ordinance has changed since then, the applicant did not cause the hardship. The hardship is because we as a sign company and Qdoba are trying to clean things up a little bit. The signs, like I said, are in disrepair. They're at the point where they're really not repairable. They need to be replaced. Therefore, we're going to propose that we do replace them, reduce the quantity to 2, and reduce the square footage involved in the whole thing as well. Number 4, the variance requested does not harm the public and does not impair the intent or purposes of this code, goals, policies, including specific regulation for which the variance is sought. The applicant opines that the intent of the regulation in question is to protect the residents of residences and residential neighborhoods from large-scale commercial signs that are out of character within the neighborhood. The applicant believes that the proposed signs will be more in character with the neighborhood versus the existing signs. The signs proposed are less square footage than existing. The existing is 145 square feet. We're proposing 74. The existing signs are red and green in color. Proposed signs are more of an earth tone with white and poppy orange. The existing signs are illuminated with neon. Two alternatives were presented: channel letters with internally illuminated pure white LED, or backlit halo letters illuminated with pure white LED. And I'll, in my rebuttal to the comments from staff, I'll go into the lighting process, the lighting that we will propose to use in this, why we think it's more efficient and more user-friendly, earth-friendly than the neon that was in there. The variance request demonstrates exceptional hardship not related to the purposes of convenience or financial burden. The applicant states that the code restriction of one sign is difficult because it limits the restaurant's ability to identify itself. This establishment is located in the heart of the city, and the majority of its customers are tourists. For a structure of this size, proper identification is critical. As we said, reducing it to one, we have to make a choice of where we put it. Who's not going to be able to see it? Could create a substantial reduction in business. The variance does not violate building or fire code requirements. The requested variance will necessitate the submission of a sign permit application, which will be reviewed for compliance with regulations. All signs are engineered and manufactured to meet building code requirements. And I'll add to that, they also meet and exceed NEC or National Electric Code requirements as well. The variance is a minimum variance that will afford relief of the subject standards of, the variance is a minimum variance that will afford relief of the subject standards of the code. We believe that this is a minimum request, as the request is almost a 50% reduction in size and a 33% reduction in quantity in signs. Therefore, we feel that it is a minimum in its request. That is our 7 points. If you want at this time, I'll present my rebuttal to the staff report, or if we have a different process we're following.
This is your time for controlling the floor and presenting your information.
Okay.
So,
All right. So comments regarding the project analysis on page 5 of the staff report. Wall signs. There is mention in this that states states a desire to use the same process of signage allowance for the property that was in place for West Glenwood Plaza and the Roaring Fork marketplaces. These businesses in these centers have only one frontage available to them, as opposed to the 4 of this property. However, there is one property in Roaring Fork Marketplace that does have 2 frontages, and I do have a Google Earth picture that I captured today that shows this one that has 2 street frontages, indeed does have 2 signs. Kind of contradictory to the sign code and what he wants, what we were asked to try to follow suit on. If you want the picture, I will be more than happy to distribute those, or however you want to go. I did see also, I did not print the picture, but in that same area, there is another facility, America's Mattress, I believe it is, that has 2 signs on the same frontage. One says sleep store or something similar to that. And then adjacent to that on the same frontage is the one that says America's Mattress. Again, kind of contradictory to what we were asked to try to mimic. Do you care to see that photo of the Subway store? Or-
Well, that's a comparison, but we would have no way of knowing whether those signs were done under this current code or
And
any other
that's a
code.
valid
So,
point. I can't answer that myself. either.
yeah, so
All right,
we'll take your word on that, and I know
Very
what
well.
you're saying, talking about. I know those signs you're referencing.
okay. The comment of being able to advertise on the second side by using a 4-foot square sign is not valid in our opinion, as this will not allow visibility from any great distance. And I apologize for this. I had a demonstration piece that is still laying on my desk. But I had a 2-foot by 2-foot sign that we put Qdoba Mexican Eats on it. And for it to fit on that 2-foot sign, the letter Q is 3 inches tall. And according to current sign industry standards, a 3-inch letter height gives you maximum or minimum view distance of maximum readability at 40 feet. So with this letter being, I'm sorry, that was a 4-inch letter. This being a 3-inch tall letter, that gives us maximum readability of about 35 feet. Which will work out fine if you're in the first or second row of the parking lot. If you're out on 6th Street or even on Laurel, visibility of that 4 square foot sign is going to be very small, very minimal. The internal illumination situation. Is our professional opinion that internally illuminated LED channel letter sign is a much more friendly lighting process. This lighting process is more cost effective in its origin, as well as the repair and maintenance in the future. The brightness of this light type can be controlled with a dimmer if deemed to be too bright. LED lighting is much softer than neon. The 3/16 acrylic sign faces used in conjunction with LED lights at full brightness only transmit 27% of the light produced from the LED modules. This team with the vinyl applied to the face create this softer light. We're not attempting to light the entire parking lot with these signs, but to rather create a warming, pleasant, appealing view to attract customers to the facility. As to the exterior lighting option, in today's environment of desiring dark sky conditions, exterior illumination should be the first component eliminated from the code. This light source has a tendency to create more light than is needed to illuminate the sign face, particularly with channel letters. We're going to illuminate a wall section, but only a portion of it will have the letters. Therefore, why do we need all that extra light? That is, in my opinion, our opinion, light pollution that is not necessary or required. The reflection of this light from the sign components, as well as the light cast upon the building facade, is not conducive to a softer light solution. Our lighting solution proposal can be limited in the brightness output as mentioned previously, and our client would not object to turning off the lights at required times to satisfy the code requirements. In closing, we're asking that you grant this request on the behalf of the current longstanding business that employs 15 people within the city, that is trying to upgrade the visual appeal of this business. Without these signs that are in place, we will likely continue to degrade and lose visual appeal. The signs that we are proposing to install are of less square footage than the ones that are being replaced. Many of the businesses in the neighborhood currently have multiple signs on multiple facades today. We think it's only true, right, and proper that a company that has been in place for 18 years and employed numerous people over these years not be required to reduce existing signage because of the condition of the signage that is there. Any questions?
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question. So and I'm looking at your proposal that you submitted. It was asked already about the one sign that you are changing, that's not in the variances, that's got 2 Qdoba things on it. I mean, that's I'll call it the post sign, but the one away from the building. I mean, that's the one closest to Sixth Street, is that
That
right?
is
I mean,
correct.
that's the one. So is that an internally lit sign?
Yes, it is.
So that would, from just hearing what Emery said, so that would stay still internally lit, but then you get to the, I mean, I'm just kind of looking at it here, it gets to the big orange Cadoba Mexican Eats kind of thing. I mean, from Sixth Street, is that the one, that's the one people are really gonna see, is that?
Correct.
Is that what you think? Okay, that was.
And
what-
there's, the other one then is would be on the Laurel side, that we would try to attract people that are eastbound on Sixth Street, coming off the hill.
So
They're
it'd
running
be on the-
parallel to the
it-
interstate,
it'd
heading
be
in
on the-
toward
on
town.
the west side of the building,
Correct.
and that's the one, okay, towards Laurel Street.
If we rely on that one that is facing Sixth Street to attract people that are coming into town, coming off the hill from West Glenwood, they're not gonna see the sign until they're already past the street to turn.
Right. And then, but any signs that are changed, whenever you change any sign on the building, then you have to go to the new code, which is
Correct.
the one sign.
Correct.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, it's tough as the code changes and the district changes, but
Yeah, it's,
so I understand.
well, and I understand. code
Some of us have
changes
been
and-
there.
And the purpose of them as well, but to take a company that's been around for as long as they have and probably helped many of our children afford cars and such, and as they're coming through high school, it's kind of sad that we have to restrict them to that.
If you could
that
do
level.
only one sign on the building, which one would you pick?
I would say the one facing Sixth on the south facade.
On the south face. And then is there an awning on the Laurel side where you, I
There
mean, I
is
know
on-
it's a little
there is
dinky
on
thing,
both.
but there's an awning on that side. I
Correct.
know I've eaten, but
Again, putting a 4 square foot
yeah,
sign over there, it's really without purpose.
okay. Thanks.
Joy, please.
So the actual south-facing sign that's proposed looks larger than the existing sign that's in that spot.
And that could be very well. I haven't really analyzed that portion of it. I know that to the right of the existing one, there's a long line of letters there that's coming down and going.
And that was my question, is the reduction of square footage
Is
just because you're
reduction, that would-
removing that smaller portion to the
Correct.
right? Okay.
Well, seeing no further questions, so thank you for your
Certainly.
presentation. And this time I'll open the floor to public comments regarding this item.
We have an app though. We're an applicant online, so.
Please state your name and your city of residence.
Can you hear me? I wasn't sure if you could hear me or not. So my name's Stacy Clayton, and I am actually in Nashville, Tennessee.
Stacy, are you there?
Can you hear me? Oh no, you can't hear me. Let's see. I'm here, but I don't think you can hear me.
Oh,
Um,
you may be muted. We're not able to hear you.
What about now?
I'm sorry, we're not able to hear you. Perhaps you could call in on the phone. I can give you a number for that.
Okay. What is the number?
That would be 719 359-4580.
Okay, thank you. I'll call in.
And she'll need the passcode as well.
Which is
She probably can't hear you. The passcode's
One-
477366.
366. Stacy, if you can hear us, the passcode is 177366. Oh, there it is. I should have given that earlier, I guess. huh?
Does she pop back up into the attendee side? No.
You happen to have her contact information?
Yeah.
Can you text her that passcode?
She probably needs that passcode to get back in.
I can only assume that she's gonna want to talk about multiple businesses around with multiple signs. And I tried to explain that those are not multi-tenant facilities. Phone number again, please. 719.
Yeah, the 719-359-4580. That's the telephone number, and she'll need the passcode 177366.
She might need the webinar ID as well.
The webinar ID is 851-3830-9453.
It's all right.
851-3830-9453.
Would it work if I were to call her and put her on speakerphone?
Sure. We'll try anything.
Thanks, George.
We're open to all possibilities.
Stacy, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I've got you up here. I'm gonna put you on the counter right in front of everybody.
Actually, can we put it right there so that?
So my question was, I didn't know if you could see the visibility study up on the screen. I think that kind of helped with seeing why both elevations need to be visible to the traffic.
That visibility study is not available on the screen right now, but they have all,
Really?
they have all seen it and they are all aware of it.
Okay, and so the biggest thing that confused me about this code is on the additional standard in the downtown core part of the code, which is like page 29 of 31. It states that the illumination, we are allowed to have non-flashing neon signs. So your code is saying that I'm allowed to put Cadova signs on that wall that have neon in them, but I can't put a more energy efficient, lighting in the sign. That really confuses me. I don't understand why I'm allowed to put neon in the signs, but I can't put something that's green, a better lighting element. So I don't, is that something that's incorrect in your code that states that I'm allowed to have neon signs? I mean, because if I can have neon signs, we'll put neon signs and then we'll put neon in the new signs so that they can be internally illuminated with neon. Because according to your code, that's what we can have. Does that make sense? I mean, does that, can you see that? I wish I could share my screen because I could show you where it states that in your code.
Hi, so this is Emery Ellingson. I'm the staff that wrote the report. And so you are correct that in the downtown core, we do have an exception for that neon. So if like Qdoba were to go forward and do the neon, that would be allowed. And then also too, I'll get with Planning and Zoning Commission, I wanted to speak a little more. Paul had been talking about the illumination style, and I wanted to comment on the difference between what would be channel lit and what would be halo lit. So I'll also explain that to the commission as well.
Okay, well,
You
in
are
the
correct on the neon.
package, yes, okay, so in the package that we presented, I show both illumination styles, an illustration of the backlit, which is really nice, really classy looking, and then also an illustration of the face lit. So I did not include how those signs would look like with neon. So it's just intensify your color, dramatically if I can put neon in those letters. So that was my question. That's what I wanted to ask first about the neon, and then I wish that we could put the visibility study up on the screen so you can see how much visibility we're losing.
And so I'll bring up I'll explain this to Planning and Zoning Commission. I can bring up the narrative so everybody can see it, and the visibility was included in there, so we can take a look at that.
Okay, I'm gonna go back on Zoom if that's okay. If you can't hear me, just watch.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Thank you.
As far as the sign installer, the difference between the two or the three, halo lit. I don't know if any of you understand the technique used in halo lit. That is going to be a sign letter that is going to be mounted to the wall with a standoff, and it's going to cast light back against the wall, creating a shadowing effect that illuminates the letter that way. It can be neon or LED at that point. Our proposal as far as the difference between neon and LED is that the LED is much softer light. It's dimmable if necessary, whereas the neon is on or off. It works very well in the area down next to the bridge. Works excellent there because that is kind of the motif of that area. You know, you got Doc Holidays, you got the Supper Club and the Colorado Ranch Club and all that. I'll tell you, maybe it's something we need to address in the near future. The Riviera Supper Club is about done doing maintenance on their LED, and they're looking at an alternative. And this would be an LED component that truly you will not know the difference between LED and neon. It'll be a small tube. It'll have a series of LED modules inside of it. Technology today is pushing neon out the door. It's very, very expensive to maintain. It's very expensive to operate. The LED will cost you a third of the money to operate on a yearly basis. It just makes sense in today's world to move forward into that realm.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something when Paul was talking about the difference between the channel lit and the halo lit.
Well, Emery, before we continue on, the floor is open for public comment, so I should probably, I'm assuming there's nobody else online with their hand up. Is that correct? So I'll close the public comment period at this point. And please, Emery, thank you.
No worries. I just wanted to clarify. So this is in the applicant narrative. And so channel lit, here's the diagram, and the visual for the channel lit is what you would see there. Qdoba Mexican Eats. And that's where, the lighting is coming from like the front of the letters. And so that's considered interior illumination. So if that is the style, the channel lit, that is what's being requested for the variance. Now, halo lit is considered exterior because the light is coming from the back, hitting the wall, and then illuminating, giving you that halo effect. So this type of sign would not require variance. So just wanted to kind of clarify that because I don't think had that broken down in the staff report.
So Emery, go ahead, Joy.
No. Oh. Okay, I will. Ladies first. So I'm a little confused with the applicant saying, well, we'll just go ahead and use neon then. What would is she saying that she'll use neon and light up the sign? I don't recall how the first.
So this variant, neither of these designs include neon, but if they went back to the drawing board and made a new sign permit and said we're gonna have them be neon lit, that's allowed in the downtown core.
So they could essentially have them front lit with neon.
But not the number, correct? Yeah, when we're talking strictly illumination. Yeah, neon sign.
Right. I'm still confused.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just don't understand how a neon front lit sign would be allowed, but not LED. It just seems like you're just changing like the illumination is the same, which is the purpose of getting rid of that type of illumination. And they're just changing the material for illuminating.
My guess is that it's more related to look and feel because we do have in the historic downtown, we have these signs like the Riviera Supper Club sign
Right.
and dock sign, right? So, we have a couple of new neon signs. Sundays has a neon sign and Casey's has a neon sign. So it's more related to the historic character of the downtown potentially. So these other types of signs are more potentially seen as suburban. I can't tell you exactly. That was in the code from before we carried it through. So I can't give you the exact rationale about why that is the way that it is, but that's certainly my guess.
And if they wanted to come back tomorrow and submit a sign permit for that, we'd certainly review that one. Review it. So again, kind of what they're looking for though, and what's subject to the variance is channel lit. So this, if the variance were approved, that's what you would see. And then again, this halo option, that would be allowed by code as is, that does not require variance. So it gets very, so that's good. But yeah, so that's just kind of, as far as the illumination, that is kind of what is being looked at.
So if it was neon, which of these would it be?
Well, it'd be a
I mean,
neon
it's
sign.
showing light up there, but if it was, so I mean, then is it a whole different sign? Then it's a neon Qdoba versus lettering with lighting.
Yeah. I mean,
If we use neon, is it going to be a neon face? Or are we going to backlight a acrylic vinyl covered face to create the same?
Do the neon tubes have to be visible or could there be a
That's my
vinyl
question.
transparent
I-
face
I-
in
I
front?
apologize for cutting in, but that's not really an issue before us tonight. This is not an
Well,
application meeting.
I guess it kind of is, because are we eliminating the LED completely because of the neon? Then we have to change the entire structure of the sign. It's going to change the colors of the sign because the colors of neon aren't as vast or as varied as what we can do with vinyl faces. That one of the reasons we picked the colors that are up there is because with the LED combination, we can make such a softer glowing light as opposed to something else.
Understood. I'm just concerned that staff has not had an opportunity to really consider this alternative. This is the
And
first one really.
I agree, Richard. And I would also say too, so like when in the staff report, mentioned the code compliant alternatives to interior illumination. Yes, you could have the exterior light shining down, which like Paul said, can create light pollution, but also staff was looking at halo lit is also considered an exterior illumination. So that is to be fair.
Okay, that clears that up. Okay, so any further questions or
Okay, so,
Mitchell,
yeah,
please.
because my head hurts. So, all right, so there are two questions in front of us, right? Is it fair to isolate these questions or are they so interrelated, right? So question number one is then about the number of signs and whether we grant that variance. Can we just focus on that? Because we're all confused. This feels like way more confusing than it out to be for some reason, but could we allow ourselves to maybe focus at the moment on that first piece, figure that out, talk through it, make a decision. And then the second question is about, and I'm going to ask a clarifying question. The second motion is about how we light things or how, right? Is that the second question? Yeah. Okay. And then we've not talked at all about this spa either. Is that an ongoing concern? Like, is that an actual in business thing? Okay. Because it seems like one easy answer would just be to not give them a sign. Other than the pedestal monument sign that's there in the parking lot.
In the master sign plan for this property, there was.
You had to make the
Right,
agreement.
there is 10 square feet allotted to that facility for a wall sign.
Fair point. So then I would just ask us to maybe see if we can consider this first motion first. And
Well, yeah, we will do that in
We just have.
one at a time. We have to address both of them,
yeah,
each of them individually. So
no,
yeah,
agreed.
I would think we should try to have enough information in front of us.
You were trying
prior
to
to-
knock out all the questions together and then we could do them individually versus that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that.
now we can. I don't know that we necessarily have to do it that way,
No,
but we would address action item 1 first, and which is the number of signs.
because we owe the applicant decisions on both tonight.
Right,
Right. And
to either,
maybe it's easier for you guys can can disagree with me, of course.
We have to
but
do a
like,
motion on each one.
I know, and
So
it
we have to do each.
and maybe it's just easier, like, let's knock out this first question because it feels pretty easy.
Right.
And then get back into the whole type of lighting thing, I guess.
okay. Well, I will, any further questions, Carolyn? Oh, no, okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion on,
And then I guess, so then to clarify that first motion, right now you've got the monument sign in the parking lot. Or pedestal, is it monument sign? Is that what it's called? Pole sign. And then we have a Qdoba sign on the south or the west and 2 Qdoba signs on the south. Right?
But the post sign is not part of
The post sign's not a part of the deal. So it's just the ones that are attached onto the building. Qdoba, the signs are old and it looks like you guys are also updating the logo. And to do that now, to state a code, it says we're going from 3 to 1 is what we're telling you. And then you would have to sort of decide if you're going to do one side or how, where that one side goes. But our decision is, the question
Yeah, we need
is,
to do a motion.
right? Do we go from 3 to 1? Yes or no? Okay, clear in my head. Thank you for that. So I would move that we support the staff's recommendation and deny the variance request as it's been laid out.
Okay, we have a motion.
Can I add with staff recommended findings?
With staff recommended findings. I think this is my first motion, so. Yeah.
You did better than I did on my first one.
Okay. we
I'll
have a
second-
motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Weimer and a second from Commissioner Sipperly. Comments?
So a yes is to deny.
Correct.
That's always a good clarification.
Yeah.
I also voted wrong on it one time.
I would just like to say that I do like the rebranding that they did, and though I think the halo lighting is really appealing and may not be what, or sorry, we're not talking about lighting yet. Sorry, that's number 2. Yes, but I feel like, though I did look at your visibility study, I feel like the majority of what you're seeing on that Laurel side, is it Linden or Laurel? Laurel, is a lot of residential, and I feel like there's trees obstructing the signage. There's on that side, I feel like of course, this is me as a City of Glenwood Springs member. I don't feel like there will be huge damages removing that side sign.
I've got to agree with Joy that the sign facing west is not visible from very many locations, and I probably feel differently if the pole sign had to go away, then the second sign on the building might be more important. But since that pole sign gets to remain and get freshened up with their sort of new logo, I feel okay with just allowing one sign on the face of the building.
And I'll just concur, and the one thing, and I agree, it's tough, the times have changed, codes changed, and there you go. But I didn't realize that the pole sign is also illuminated. And that's really, I think, from my perspective, one people see, but I also go with the code, and I think Emery, I think you did a good job going through that, so.
And then I'll add part of what's going into my decision personally is, I think tourists probably do visit Qdoba, but having myself gone there during high school lunchtime, that place is insane. And so it's like full of just high school kids. And so like that, they're gonna know that Qdoba's there. Like the 1 or 2 missing signs isn't gonna, to your lady's points down there, I don't know that it's gonna materially damage too much because of where that traffic, the foot traffic is coming from.
George, one more thing I forgot to say. There was a lot of talk about, other businesses that have 2 signs. I think just something to remember is that if they need to update their signage, they're gonna have to comply with this new building code. So
That really doesn't apply to them because they're not a multi-set. So those others right there in that same area.
oh no, just other businesses.
So if I could just, for the record, if we could not have the back and forth, and if we are going to hear from someone in the audience that they should come to the lectern, thank you.
Okay, well, all I could add is that I can be sympathetic to the applicant in terms of their location of the business. It is kind of tucked in behind there, but on the other hand, our variance requirements are not even close to being met. I think very few, if any, would be met under this application. So I would have to vote for this motion. And unless there are any other comments, I'll call the question.
Yes is to deny.
Yes is to deny, to support the motion for denial.
Motion passed.
Okay. All right, so action item 2, variance and request to allow an interior illuminated sign in the downtown core as prohibited by section 070, 040, 110J3C1. And staff recommends denial with the findings and conditions on pages 8 and 9. Pete.
I'll make a motion to support staff's recommendation for denial of the variance request with the findings and conditions on page 8 and 9.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Pete and a second from Amber to deny this variance request on action item 2. Mitchell.
Is it appropriate for, at this point, for me to ask the applicant what their alternative would be, right? So if they do get denied on this second variance, of course, they can come back and they can say neon. I think that feels like a silly element of the conversation, the neon versus not, because it's more about spirit versus like technology, but is it fair to ask what maybe that alternative would be?
We need to stick to the criteria of the variance.
Okay.
7 points in the variance, and once a motion is made, back
Yeah.
and forth with the applicant, any
Okay.
comments not really appropriate.
Okay.
Joy. Carolyn.
At the beginning of this conversation, I wasn't clear that the halo lighting would be allowed as exterior lighting. And now I just want to confirm that if the sign is set away from the wall and the light can spill out around the back, that's considered exterior lighting, does not need a variance. Is that correct?
That is correct. Halo style would be considered exterior.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other comments?
Because I did say something about the halo lighting, I think that it's a really reasonable alternative and is really aesthetically pleasing. So I also would support to deny.
And that actually answers my question about what the alternative would be totally. So I feel okay about denying this.
Okay. Call the question, please.
Motion passed unanimously 6-0.
Okay. Thank you. Certainly, why not?
I greatly
Yeah.
we appreciate your time and attention in this. And I'm going to apologize. I did not understand myself that Halo was going to be potentially approved, or we would have not fought this battle from, it's been over a year now, folks.
Well, thank you. I kind of wondered about that. All right. We're trying to get positive here and move. Okay. Well, that's it. It takes us to number 6, commissioner comments. Carolyn.
That took longer than I thought it would, and we all learned a few things. So thanks for everybody's patience with this item.
Joy.
I would actually just echo the same thing and also thank I don't recall his name, but Paul. He did a great job.
And I guess I had a couple of questions and not really comments, but so we have meetings. So what's the schedule in November and December with holidays?
So both of the meetings moved to accommodate the holidays. And I think it's November 14th and December 13th, whatever those Tuesdays
November,
are.
she gave the thumbs up.
Hold on. November
15th. And
I'm gonna look at Hannah.
December 13th.
She got it right.
November 15th, and what was the other? one? Okay,
And it's just to try to get it out of the holiday weeks
no,
or away
no, that
from
makes sense.
travel.
That's kind of what my question was.
And
And-
Hannah will still send us a Wednesday prior notice.
Well, usually my part comes later when I tell you what's coming down the pipeline. But we actually don't have anything for the November meeting. So unless Jen and myself, maybe Richard too, come up with a crazy idea.
Maybe we can talk about neon.
LED.
Dad's idea.
LED.
So so it's not guaranteed that we have a meeting, but I will certainly let you know when we
Okay.
for sure cancel it. Because sometimes we do come up with crazy ideas.
And then I guess the other updates, and I guess we'll probably hear about these, but comp plan update and then the, I'd like to hear about the habitat because I couldn't go to the charrette, so.
Well,
and-
let's start
and
there
I
because
get
Hannah's,
why.
she's ready.
Yeah, are we forbidden from attending the charrette?
Yes,
I
and they
thought
are
so.
actually over.
Okay.
So they've been completed. They had 3 charrettes. One was an open house structure over at the library. And then they had 2 virtual charrettes. One was aimed at community engagement, and then the next one was aimed at architectural and design professionals to also give their feedback. So those have been completed, and we're awaiting Habitat's summary of how those went. And then the next step for them, with approval of the agreements that is on City Council's agenda, which is they have been, it's just the final documents, and then they will be looking to submit their application.
A charrette is kind of like a sketch plan, brainstorming, loose, rough planning session.
Thank you. Yes, those crazy French people and their words.
I looked it up, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Sorry, what was that?
Clearly,
ineffectively to
solve the planning part is not allowed, just zoning.
And I did send out a reminder for you guys that you should abstain from attendance because you are one of the approving authorities on these. So we really can't have you going and attending the process. So I hope that wasn't too mean of an email that I was saying that, no, you couldn't attend.
Building climate is different. It seems like we've had several months where we haven't had meetings, huh?
I think we've had a lot that has come in the last year leading up to this. This has traditionally been an off season when we had such a thing as an off season. So we're enjoying the moment.
Our building permits down.
I think we've had quite a few. I would have to look at the year over year. The last time I pulled it, but I didn't compare it to last year. Certainly we can send that information out to you.
That would be fun to add to one of our meetings.
We're chugging along at a pretty good pace with last year's. I think we're at permits in the 300s. So we're still working very hard.
And when are we, when's the application deadline for alternates
No.
for the commission?
I don't believe we actually have a deadline. It's advertised until Bill. Yeah.
And then to answer your question about the comprehensive plan, Danielle and Jim will be transitioning to Jim, presenting it before this body in hopefully in January for the comprehensive plan. But Danielle will send out some the final draft, like it with the pretty pictures, and certainly it's a draft, so we can work on that. And it was kind of a Herculean effort. We spent maybe 6 hours a piece on hammering through the changes that folks have offered. And there are some, of course, conflicting comments. So we have done our best to represent what the whole steering committee would like to see, doing our best to kind of balance some direct comments with, take this out, leave this in, that kind of thing. So we will deliver a draft hopefully on the 31st for you. But I have seen it and they're lovely pictures and it looks very nice. And we did spend a lot of time together in a conference room.
Good times.
I certainly appreciate all that.
So the next meeting isn't until
I think
next
it's,
year? I mean, was that what I heard you just say? January?
Well, we don't have any applications for November and the
No,
one
I meant on the
comp
comp.
plan. Thanks for the clarification.
It is interesting because I think it is scheduled for the 15th. So maybe it is that we assumed that we would not have those that November 15th. So we may have already, I just have forgotten that we have decided that we are not going to bring anything forward other than the comprehensive plan.
All right.
So that's comp plan.
It was all those hours together, right? It slipped my mind.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Mitchell, comments?
So I know the Schoolhouse Rock song about how a bill becomes a law. Richard, I'm so sorry, but how does code change? How do code changes, how are they born and what's that process?
Last time it was.
Did we ask?
I was like, how do you instigate a code change?
Instigate. You instigate. What, the vast majority are staff recommendations.
Of course.
But I believe that, and each code is different, and I just turned my computer off. I believe city council can initiate it, and I don't know if P and Z can.
I think that P and Z can. For example, I think the sidewalk change that took us, it was a long discussion, not as long as the riparian code, but those changes to the sidewalk code it was a suggestion, I think, from P and Z. We have also had requests from the public. And we have started down the path of that one time since the whole rewrite of the code, and it ultimately didn't move forward. But we did at least take a suggestion from the community and move it through the process.
Whatever happened with the code change for the commercial on lower level? I don't even remember exactly what, but I know that was something that we recommended.
I think I recall the item you're talking about, downtown design standards that you
Yeah.
guys spent quite a bit of time on. The last time city council had a work session on that, they wanted additional public engagement input. And we told them at that time that staff wasn't going to be able to assist with setting up that meeting until possibly January. So that's what they have asked for. So that's where it's sitting at the moment.
Is there anything going on with the Safeway? Are we allowed to ask? Are we allowed to know if there's been any movement or anything? I saw a survey.
We would anticipate that when we have an application, it would come to this body.
I would anticipate that as well. Thank you.
Very good answer.
Thank you for that clarification.
Poker face.
I would anticipate that.
Well, I guess I have nothing further to ask or question at this point. Have we covered director's comments or
Yes, thank you.
do you have further? Okay, well, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mitch.
Thank you.
You got the look?
Yay.
You get to